Hello, everybody. It's me again. It's Jamie, and this is episode 1. Now, might be kind of cheesy. I've called this thing Hep Huddle. Okay, I know that might seem a little cheesy, and maybe I'll change it or something like that. But I'm doing this in the spirit of something I've been doing as a family tradition. Every Sunday, my family gathers together in what we call Hep Huddle. Okay. Actually, my littlest one asked me, Dad, why do we call it Head Puddle? I'm like, that's cute. So maybe some of you might call this Head Puddle, but it's Hep Huddle. And so we found it to be just a really productive time together as a family. Great conversations have come about. So I just figured I'd label these videos in this little thing called Hep Huddle. So anyway, that's what it is. I'm looking for feedback. Okay. The goal is to add value, as I talked about in the intro. You know, listen, I've got two objectives here. I mean, I want to do my best to increase pay, okay? Help people make more money, help reps and owners make more money. And also, I want to add value in your personal and professional development. So if these videos don't do that, then I'm going to stop doing these videos. If these videos do add value, then great. I want to hear feedback. I want to know if these are useful for you or not. I want to know how we can improve these. Obviously little things like lighting and stuff, you know, you can tell I'm certainly an amateur with this stuff. But again, the goal is to add value, so I do want to hear some feedback from you. While this was in its beta stage, okay, before I released this, or at least I thought before I released this to the public, the first person to actually fill out the Google form was Kevin Jackson. Okay, so KJ, you know, this is for you. You're getting the episode 1 here. And, you know, KJ's in Los Angeles, and so I see you online. I see you creating those great videos with situational leadership and stuff like that. And obviously, you know what you're talking about, so keep it up. I think you're doing a great job. And obviously, you're running a great business, so keep it up, KJ. This is a question that's asked a lot. Okay, I can't tell you how many times over the years, you know, hey, how do you handle adversity? How do you handle dealing with, stress and stuff like that? I'm like, over the years, as I was asked that over and over, I'm like, I should probably come up with a formula. There's got to be some kind of system. I'm always trying to systemize things that work, so go figure. So I've got 5 little tips here for you on handling adversity. How do you handle adversity, okay? So number 1 is laugh at yourself. Okay, number 1 is laugh at yourself. Everyone's laughing at you, so why not laugh at you too? Okay? Cute little cheeky story for you. Years ago, I'm training a new recruit. Okay, we're driving out to the field. I park the car and I'm having dialogue over the roof of my car. He's in the passenger side, right? So he hops out and we're just talking over the roof. And as we're discussing, what's going to happen here today and, tracking sheet, here's what, things look like. I felt something wet on my head. At least it felt wet. So I'm touching my head and there appears to be some kind of chalk. I'm like, chalk? I'm like, it's like white and chalky. And, as I'm looking at my hand, I then glance over and I look at my new recruit and he's laughing. Okay. Like he's laughing hysterically. And I'm like, what's so funny? What's he laughing at? And I'm trying to put 2 and 2 together because I'm looking in the sky. It's a perfectly blue sky. There's nothing falling out of the sky. And I'm like, a bird pooped on my head. Bird pooped on my head. And I'm looking at him and he's laughing. And a bird pooped on me. And my first emotion, if you will, was anger. I was angry. How dare you, new recruit? Like, don't you know I have the power to sever this relationship? I'm angry. And I don't know how long it took. I got to think it was a matter of like 2-3 seconds. That anger turned into laughter/comedy pretty fast. Because if the bird had pooped on his head, I too would be laughing the same way he was laughing. I mean, it's kind of funny that, the guy's talking, whatever, bird poops on. I mean, that would be comical. I mean, maybe I'm kind of weird that way, but I'd be laughing too. And so I kind of like, hey, Jamie, don't take yourself so serious. Don't take yourself so serious. Lighten up a little bit. You're going to get bumps and bruises. Learn to laugh at yourself. Have a good sense of humor. Laugh at yourself because everybody's laughing at you too. So that helps. Okay, that's kind of step one, or I don't know if it's necessarily 5 steps, but that's tip 1 on how to really handle adversity. Is just don't take yourself so seriously. Lighten up a little bit. Be lighthearted and enjoy the ride. Okay. Number 2, character test. Okay, adversity reveals your character. Okay, adversity can also help you sharpen up your character. I love memorizing great quotes that sort of help me in my journey. One of the things I heard many moons ago, and I'm like, oh, I got to remember that one. There is no testimony without a test. There is no testimony without a test. Nobody wants to hear from the person who's been living on 101 Easy Street his whole life. I mean, there's no testimony. I mean, what do you got to say to me? But if you've gone through the grind, if you've gone through the gauntlet, if you've gone through adversity, you have something of value to add to other people. I've always looked at dealing with adversity kind of like, the person who's trying to make pure gold. Okay, you can Google it, YouTube it, whatever. I don't know what the temperature is on how to get 24 karat gold, but the process is something like you got to heat the gold, obviously. You got to get it to a certain temperature that it turns to liquid, and you keep turning up the heat. You keep turning up the adversity, and all the impurities bubble up to the top. And the person in charge of this gold is taking some kind of blade, some kind of metal blade, and scraping the scum off the top. Okay, all the impurities are coming to the top, scraping off the scum, getting rid of it until you have 24 karat gold. Okay, that's kind of like us as human beings. The adversity should ultimately release some of these impurities, help us sharpen ourselves up. It's a character test. Okay? It's sharpening up the character. Another thought, another quote is, don't let a good trial go to waste. Okay? All these experiences, all these like adverse moments lead up to great testimonies. They lead up to great morning meetings. The more difficult the journey, the better the morning meeting. So learn to enjoy, hard to do, but learn to enjoy these difficult moments because, again, they are lessons for the future. It's funny with my kids, so funny over the years. My kids never want to hear success stories from dad. They don't really want to hear the stories of, oh, son, like, here's a story of your dad, when I won my first, trophy in baseball, whatever. The stories they love is when I got my butt handed to me. They love those stories. They giggle, they laugh, and I'm like, oh, you guys, it wasn't funny for me at the time, but they sure love to hear their old man talk about the adversity. Okay, so again, remember these, don't let a good trial go to waste. Tough times don't last, tough people do. Remember that, okay? It's a character test. Adversity reveals your character. Adversity sharpens your character, okay? Actually, another quote. I hate to keep throwing you these quotes, but you choose, okay? You choose. Adversity will make you better or it will make you bitter. But you choose. Remember that, okay? So you can become tainted, through adversity. So doesn't always sharpen. I get that. So, but again, you got to choose. You got to be proactive. We're going to get to step 5 here in a second of, own yourself. But, you got to choose, whether this moment is going to make you better or it's going to make you bitter. I think it's just obviously more healthy to choose to make yourself better. All right. So number 3 is big picture. Okay. Or another way to look at it is perspective. One of the first guys I ever had the privilege of working with over the years, a fellow by the name of Simon Morley, Simply Simon. So Simon, I hope one day you get a chance to see some of these videos because obviously you're a stud. I love you. And I got this from you. I remember as a new leader trying to build my business, I got this from Simon. I saw Simon go to the board. I'm going to do the same drawing of Simon. I give him the credit for this. Simple Simon said, here's you. Here are your goals. call it G. Here's the obstacles. We'll call it O. If your goals are that small, all you're going to see are the obstacles. You're going to be fixated on the obstacles because the goals are they're just so small. However, if your goals are grand, if you've got big goals, then all you're going to see are the goals. You're not going to see the obstacles. So it's really perspective. I mean, as you're going through things, right, if your goals are small, think about it. The littlest thing can happen. You're like, oh, and you just start kind of losing it. But when the goals are big, I mean, probably the best example I can think of, I mean, Elon Musk. I'd like to think most of us are following him, fascinated with what he's been doing, not just because of his wealth, but just, he's certainly an innovator. And so, you can go onto Netflix. There's something called I think the Bloomberg series or something like that. They're basically success stories. And so you can click on the Elon Musk one. I think it's 45 minutes or something like that. And it's interesting to see in the early stages, right? I mean, we all know his history. I mean, he made his money with PayPal, and then he invested all that money into two ventures. One was Tesla, the other was SpaceX. And so with SpaceX, he was one rocket blowing up away from going bankrupt. I mean, everything he was shooting up into the sky was failing. Now, again, you think about it. You've made tens of millions of dollars. You could have retired. You could have lived the good life, but he had bigger picture things. And he said after, and obviously the last rocket to shoot up was a success. He got a multi-billion-dollar contract with NASA. So, obviously things worked out. We know how the story, where it is right now. But, he said, I really calculated the probability of success to be single digits. And he's kind of a scientist guy, so he's probably spot on with how he looked at how things were going to go. So yeah, single digit success. But because the purpose of it was so big, it was worth the risk. So it's something to think about, If the goals are grand and the goals are large, it's really going to put the obstacles and the adversity into perspective. So this is a chance for all of us to go into our labs, our laboratories and take a good look at yourself and take a look at your personal inventory. And if adversity is getting the best of you, it might be time to take a look and say, what are my goals? How small am I thinking? Or how big am I thinking? But I think there's a correlation. The bigger the goals, the grander the vision, the smaller the obstacle, because it does put the obstacles into perspective. It's the same obstacle. The only difference is it's the size of the goal that's going to help you with your attitude, your mentality. All right? The fourth thing is attitude of gratitude. Okay? Attitude of gratitude. Years ago, I read this book. I want to throw a little book reference right off the bat here. So, The Richest Man Who Ever Lived, King Solomon's Secrets to Success, Wealth, and Happiness. Now, King Solomon is known, obviously, he's authored 3 books in the Bible, a portion of Proverbs, Song of Songs, and Ecclesiastes. But this book goes through some deeper stuff, like, well, listen, if we had to take his wealth and the success that he had and extrapolate it into today's dollars, he's a trillionaire. I mean, the guy was uber successful on so many levels. And so, again, I was just intrigued, again, from a business perspective and from a spiritual perspective, like, hey, what can I learn here about King Solomon? And so he said something that I'll never forget in that book. He said, gratitude and envy cannot coexist in the same heart. Okay? Gratitude and envy cannot coexist in the same heart. I mean, either one of the occupants is present, either envy is present, or gratitude is present, but those two cannot be roommates, okay? They can't live together. And so, something to think about. If you're struggling with just dealing with adversity, the question is, well, who's occupying the heart right now out of curiosity? Who's occupying the heart? You know, one of the things I've learned from Tony Robbins over the years, I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins. I think most people are that are willing to spend the time. I mean, go to his seminar, go walk on fire with Tony Robbins. I mean, it's amazing. Read his books. I mean, he's legit. Okay, Tony's legit. You know, he was asked in an interview, listen, you dump so much yourself into other people. I mean, and he does. You go to one of his seminars, I mean, dude's working like 16, 18-hour days. Like, he is intense. What do you do for yourself? Like, how do you take care of you? And Tony says everybody has to own themselves for like 10 minutes. He says, I got this ritual, 10 minutes per day of just, it's Tony time. This is time I give myself, okay? Part of the science of those 10 minutes, I won't spend the whole time talking about all the 10 minutes, but 3 of those 10 minutes is spent on gratitude. I just think of 3 things per day that I can marinate a minute on per. Okay, so if you're thinking, you know, I just have this, you know, gratitude for, you know, living in America. Okay, you don't just skip over that real fast. Oh, I'm gratitude about America, gratitude about my health. You know, I'm thankful for, you know, my family. No. Don't go through the roll call so fast. You're just going to marinate on 3 things, and you're going to spend a minute per. So if you've got this thankful heart for America, just go through all the things. Spend 60 seconds going through all the things that you're like. Why are you thankful for living in the United States? And I'm telling you, going through that exercise, okay, it's clear who's occupying the heart, envy or gratitude. And when gratitude occupies the heart, special things are going to happen. Adversity kind of gets minimized because you're just filled with gratitude for what you've got going on. But again, if gratitude is absent, there's a good chance envy's there. And if envy's there and adversity's coming your way, you're looking for greener pastures everywhere. And the greenest grass is obviously the grass growing right underneath your feet. Whether you realize that or not, the only way to realize that is going through little exercises of gratitude. Okay, so an attitude of gratitude is going to help you get to where you want to go. Just a quick little story. I remember I went on an Operation Smile medical mission in Mexico. And I thought we were in San Cristobal. It's almost in Guatemala. And so I thought it was a joke when I'm looking at the form, because it's all in Spanish. I didn't really know what it said. But mode of transportation, right? You got a few options, you know, bus, vehicle. And one of the options was donkey as mode of transportation. And I'm like, is this some kind of joke, like on this form? Like, no, most of the people coming are arriving via donkey. It's taking them days to get here to have their child, you know, go under the knife and fix cleft palates, cleft lips. And I was just blown away. I mean, that whole experience coming back from Mexico, you land on U.S. soil, and first thing you want to do is just kiss the ground, because we're just so lucky here. And when you're feeling lucky, when you're filled with gratitude, I'm telling you, it helps put adversity into perspective. All right. And then the last thing I have for you is own yourself. You know, I think we're all familiar with the 8 steps to success. And so what it does not say is have and maintain other people's attitude. Okay? If somebody's mean to you, somebody's giving you a tough time, it's not to maintain that attitude. You own it. It's really the habit of proactivity that Stephen Covey talks about. Are you a victim to your circumstances? Are you a victim to events? Are you a victim to weather? I mean, all these elements around you can get into your head, but when you own yourself, when you decide, like I can't tell you how many times I had to, and part of it is just my own personal training, my own personal journey. I'd wake up in the morning and I'd have to decide before getting out of bed, because maybe the day before was just a disaster. And so I have to decide, you know what? No matter what happens to me today, I'm going to have a great day. So you could get thrown curveball. I mean, you could. You will get thrown curveballs. But when you've decided on the front end, when you own yourself, okay, then all these other things, again, just get put into perspective. The adversity gets put into perspective because you've already decided on the front end that you're going to have a great day. Just another quote for you. Nobody can hurt me without my permission. That came from Gandhi. Nobody can hurt me without my permission. Margaret Thatcher quote, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. I like that as well too. So again, you got to own yourself. You got to own the attitude space. Okay. So I hope you guys find this video helpful. Again, anybody's heard me talk live at, any event or on any of these calls. I mean, I'm talking about this stuff. So now we've, officially memorialized it in some digital content. But again, I want to hear feedback. I want to hear suggestions on what you guys would like me to cover as well too. Hope you found this useful, and I will talk to you later.